Hello, everybody, and welcome along to One Hub Racing Season 27. Round number 6. We're almost at the halfway point of the season. And what a track that the drivers are going to be racing at. It is, of course, the Baku City Circuit, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Let's just hope we don't have too many red flags like we saw in the real-life race earlier on. Don't want to give too much spoilers. My name is Jess Ball, your commentator for this evening. And joining alongside me, as always, we got Mike Edwards. Mike, how you doing?
Doing great, Jess, and yeah, obviously Baku is a track that can throw up a lot of chaos. So, I mean, roll the dice. Are we going to get a nice smooth race, or are we going to get a chaotic one? Who knows?
We had one safety car in P1. We had, P3 with a few virtual safety cars. I think we had two virtual safety cars in P2. P1 tends to be cleaner around these type of circuits compared to other tracks, so we'll find out in just a few moments' time. But we have got two new drivers to this tier this season, but not to the league. We would like to welcome back Arnaud and Senna to the league. Of course, Senna won the championship last season. Arnaud, of course, a veteran to league racing, and it's going to be a strong pairing. So I'm really excited to see how they're going to do on the circuit.
Yeah, two incredibly quick and very experienced Roscoe racers back in P1 again. Arnold and Senna is going to be a very interesting dynamic to see what happens with those two coming back. And of course, with another two drivers that are back on the grid this week, Jess. Ben Mills and Callum Amda back this week.
Yes, Ben Mills and Callum Amda, of course, missed the last few races. Ben was very lucky to be at Silverstone, where he probably got a little bit more soap than we did up in the commentary box whilst we were watching the soaking Belgium race. But luckily, with the adaptive weather system that we have at One Hub Racing, we don't have to worry about rain this week, as we got a completely dry qualifying and a clear to light cloud to clear race, so we don't have to worry about lots of wet puddles, and the drivers don't have to worry about sliding everywhere. Well, they're going to slide everywhere anyway, but at least there'll be less chaos compared to what it was in the drive. We got 16 drivers tonight, quite a few drivers missing. We got quite a few drivers taking their engine or gearbox penalties this evening, but we will tell you a little bit more about that in just a few moments time. But we got everyone out there on the circuit. And why do you think, Mike, so many people in this tier have taken a car wear penalty of some sort?
Well, I mean, you look at the nature of the circuit, that long start-finish straight is absolutely... It's just one of those straights where you look at it and you're like, yes, I'm taking an engine or gearbox at this track because you can overtake you. As long as you got a car that is decent enough in a straight line, you can overtake you. And honestly, when it comes to like just gaining lap time around you, really you're eyeing up the middle sector more than anything. But if you've got a good straight line speed, you're going to overtake. And I think that's what everyone's doing here tonight, making sure they got their straight line speed good and they can climb up for the field with ease.
Yes, another low downforce circuit. So for those that like low downforce, such as this man, Kieran, then you're going to find things pretty good around here. Heading in towards turn number 2. Be careful that you don't go into the runoff through there. Third gear on entry. And this is where you open up the DRS. Now, this is a track where if you're experienced enough with ERS usage on this game, you don't really want to be using too much ERS at all until you get to the long start-finish straight at the end of turn 16. There's a little bit of a slide from Kieran as he enters turn 6. Now entering in towards turn 7 at the end of sector 1. A very tight line through there. He's struggling at the moment, but don't forget, these are banker laps that these drivers are facing right now. Heading in towards turn 8 and 9, in towards the castle section. Hopefully people won't do a Charles Leclerc, I am stupid, but Kieran has no such qualms. He seems to be managing it all right. Third gear on exit, but he seems to be keeping keeping it in second for now. This is another part of the track where you're probably going to use quite a bit of ERS. Not a lot though, probably about 10-15% as you enter turn 15. This is the hardest braking zone around this circuit to master. I've had that experience, to be honest, as Kieran entering the final braking zone of turn 16. And this is where you burn all of that ERS. But if you don't have too many, you will run out very quickly indeed. So Kieran's got quite a bit of straight line speed to contend with, so I think this is going to be not a bad lap for him. He might get a bit of a tow from, I think it's one of the Alpine drivers actually, but not very much. This looks like a good lap for Kieran as he goes up to the line at 1:39.2 for him. I would expect the P1 drivers, Mike, to get into the 1:38s.
Yeah, obviously, but as you said, it's a banker. Just make sure you got something on the board. That's all you need right now, because this track is so high risk. Just make sure you get a time on the board. That's what you need right now.
Yeah, a time on the board is better than nothing, because we've seen quite a few people crash out in the lower tiers, as Ben Mills has set a banker, which I would be happy with an actual lap, a 1:38.740, and Senna only slots himself into P9 at the moment, but again, it's just a banker. His teammate Arnold is on a lap at the moment as he enters in towards the castle section. Now, this is going to be interesting in terms of the tow. Would the teammates decide to give each other the tow or not, or will you gamble and not, and you will lose too much time? It's a catch-22 really. Some people might, but some people may not have had time because they only found about the weather just before the real-life Grand Prix. We're seeing more time being put on the board. Owen slots himself into 6th, Nick in 5th, Colin in 7th at the moment, Callum slots himself into 8th, J. Cole in 9th, but we're watching the returning drive of Arnold as he makes his way through turn 16.
Yeah, Marco also just crossed the line a moment ago, and he's gone up into P2 with a 38.8, only around about 600 of a second off of Ben's time, so he can be happy with that. But yeah, on board with Arnold now as he comes to the TRS activation point, and now using a little more of his ERS as he's running out of deployment, but to the line, 40.1.
40.1 for Arnold. Again, Arnold, when he was speaking to us in the driver's press conference, we'll go through a little bit more about his answer in just a minute, but he hasn't had that much experience on the F1 25 game compared to everybody else. Of course, the only other league that he races at is on a Thursday night at Jakarta, and that's it. And they only find out about the track, I think, with as soon as everyone hits ready up. But this is the time where Arnold has the time to practice, so he'll probably get a bit more experience, but he's going to probably have to learn to adapt more because he hasn't had that much time compared to everybody else. And he was asked, do you feel you could challenge at the top end of the circuit for the rest of the season? And he said, it's always a pleasure to be back at One Hub Racing, surrounded by amazing drivers and a wonderful admin team. Thank you very much. As I was saying, he didn't have enough time to play the new game yet. Yes, running a business, being a father for the first time. Yes, Arnold became a father. Congratulations. And it doesn't make things easier. I agree with that. He's definitely hoping to get a decent result for the first race back in the league. But Baku is not the easiest track. He'll make sure to capitalise on the errors of the other drivers. And his focus is to enjoy the rest of the season and to score some decent results. He's not aiming for high finishes. And that's one beauty, isn't it? Joining midway through the season, you're not expected to do well in the championship. Just go out there and have some fun and get used to the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is obviously a great mindset for Arnold to have. Obviously, he's joined at, well, pretty much the exact midway point, obviously, round 6 out of 12. But yeah, I mean, all he's got to do is just get used to the game, put in the practice, see where he fares up now in P1, enjoy himself, and then maybe next season come back bigger and stronger.
Yeah, because of course next season will be the second season on the F1 25 game. People will be a little bit more accustomed to the game, and they will probably it'll be a bit more competitive, so please do watch out. So a little bit about this track then. The first Grand Prix around this circuit, first held in Formula 1 back in 2016. It was called the European Grand Prix, and that was followed by the inaugural Azerbaijan Grand Prix in 2017, where we saw Daniel Ricciardo win that year from Valtteri Bottas and Lance Stroll. That was probably one of the biggest upsets in the 2017 season. It's an anti-clockwise circuit, and it has really great views of the Caspian Sea, actually. It has a lot of 90-degree corners, a lot of slow and tight twisting turns. It's going to be an absolute of a pain for the drivers to manage. It is the narrowest part is just 7.6 meters wide at turn 8. That is what people found tricky, including some of these other drivers as well. So we are going to see drivers find turn 8 especially quite difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, that entire sequence of corners around the castle section through 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, that still catches out to this day the most experienced of drivers. So it is always a very tricky corner to get through. And to get through fast as well, you got to have maximum commitment going through there as well.
Yeah, and honestly, you could feel the sweat that these drivers are facing right now. These drivers, or quite a lot of these drivers, are putting in a lot of practice knowing that Baku is one of the hardest circuits on the calendar. And guess what? The majority of the circuits, they're not going to be racing at twice. So at least for Baku, they don't have to race again, as Colin has had a really bad tank slapper through turn 7, which is an absolute nightmare for him. So his lap is pretty much screwed at this point. We also got, I think, one of the V-carbs on a lap. It's Casper that was on a lap first as he makes his way through. He's about a 10th up on his previous best, but he knows he can go quick. He's always had a bit of a slide as he enters turn 7 and 8. And what about the castle section? He may well have to abort this one, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. I've just jumped onto Ben Mills, getting a little bit out of shape going through turn 7 as well. The back end stepping out on him. And Jess, I was going to bring this up. Obviously, a lot of these drivers running without ABS, as Ben Mills invalidates on his run. No ABS around you. I mean, from personal experience in the past, so easy to lock up your rear tyres and just completely go into the wall, especially coming through turn 15 as you approach the downhill part.
Yeah, I think if you're running ABS, you're probably going to have a slight advantage compared to everybody else. If you don't get your braking right, even with ABS, if you don't master trail braking, you are going to struggle around this circuit. But if you do manage braking really well, you're going to do things very nicely. We've got more drivers setting laps. Owen slots himself into P6. Ben Mills slots himself into the pit lane. Kieran, what can he do? Can he improve on his 1:39? Yeah, ever so slightly. He's a tenth quicker than his previous best. We've got Colin, who set a very good lap time despite the moment he had in turn 7 earlier on. He must have gone on another lap or something. Really impressive from Colin R. Mason. Atslot goes up to the line. He goes and just about beats Nick by a 10th of a second. What could his teammate do? I know that both the Aston Martins are working on the toe this weekend. Look at Callum on arms. Welcome back to the lead, my friend. I know he's going to miss one more race this season. Not going to say who. If you want to know, good luck on SimGrid. But what a way to come back to P1 tier. And Marco's done a 10th quicker.
It's like Callum never left, is it? He's getting pipped quite often these days by Ben or Marco, and he gets a good lap time on the board, and then one of them pips him.
And what could Jacob do? Of course, last week's race winner took, I think, his engine or gearbox penalty last week. He's one of the other drivers that is taking the next one today. Wants to get it out of the way, of course. He can only manage P9 on the grid. So we had quite a few stewarding penalties, which we'll go through in just a moment. But your order so far is Marco in P1, 1:38.597. Callum Unarmed in second with a 1:38.646. Ben Mills in third with a 1:38.740. Colin R. Mason in fourth with a 1:38.801. Then we got Atslot in fifth with a 1:39.043. Then it is Nick in sixth, Kieran in seventh, Owen in ninth, Jacob in ninth, and Chris rounds out the top 10. Can Arnaud dispatch Chris? Yes, he can. He goes into the top 10. That is more like it for Arnaud to greet the Belgian, who is back in the league. So most people have done at least 2 laps tonight. Curie, I believe, is on another one, and Alex is just about as well. By the way, Curie and Robite did get time penalties or grid penalties for this race due to the fact that they either cut the chicane in qualifying, which we caught from Curry's perspective, or for Robite, did the pit lane wrong and wasn't committed, so he got a penalty for it. So those were the 2 shooting penalties in the P1 tier. You do not want to be doing that, because if you we will catch you like we said last week.
Yeah, we got eyes everywhere. We will catch you.
Yeah.
As Curry coming into the line now, looking like an improved lap from Curry, and he does improve by over a second, jumps up in the P13.
So we got most people in the 139s and pretty much for the drivers in the 138, which is very, very good to see with 4 minutes and 23 seconds left to go. And it is heading up towards the calm before the storm. Let us know in chat on who you think is going to get pole position this evening. Will it be the front guns, or will it be someone that you weren't expecting? Of course, we haven't seen what Casper could do because Casper hasn't set a representative lap yet. He is on a run though, but I wonder, as he just grazed the wall there. I would have bought it if I was Casper and go for one final run, but he may not have enough time to do that. So it's a double-edged sword. He's going to struggle nonetheless anyway, down in 15th.
I think he's got just enough time to get into the pits and get back out, but it'll be that lap and that lap only that he'll be able to do, because we've got 3.5 minutes remaining in the session. Ben Mills also on a lap as well, just coming through the castle section. And all smooth there from Ben Mills as he heads towards the break-in for turn 15. He's going to be hoping that he doesn't get any rear lockups going into here, and he gets a little bit of a lockup, but it's all manageable, and the middle sector split.
Oh my goodness! Almost 6 temps, Mike. This is a lap of the history books. He looks so committed through turn 16. One blink and you miss it. That's what Ben just did. I think we could see a 138.2 or 138.1 here. Let's just watch on board here. You can see he's burning all that battery right at the end here. Is it going to be enough for pole? Of course it is! A 138.196. Towards the end of qualifying. That's his lap done then. Casper sorts himself into P6. That's his lap done. Now the gauntlet has been laid. It's now time for everybody else to see what they could do. Ben has just said, beat that.
What a lap from Ben Mills right there. Absolutely fantastic. Laying down the gauntlet. And now 4 temps is what Marco needs to find on his lap if he wants to get just 1,000th off of Ben's time.
Oh my goodness. I mean, this is gonna, I think we'll see if Marco could beat that, but it's gonna be a really tall order, I think, as well. Ben, I think, is one of those drivers that likes quite a lot of tracks, and there are some low downforce tracks where he gets on really well. Of course, most of the low downforce tracks he hasn't even raced on this season. Monza, he wasn't here. Belgium, he wasn't here. So this is his first experience, and boom, he's laid down the gauntlet straight away. So we're about to hit the end then, as we got one of the first people just about to start their lap times. That is one of the Ferraris. That is Colin R. Mason, who said to me that he's very confident around this circuit. He had a bit of a down point today when he found out that he changed probably a bit too much in his setup choices. So I wonder if he's gone back to basics a little bit, or maybe he just likes the qualifying session. We'll have to wait and see. We'll see what he does in sector 1 through turn 4. Just about keeps it calm and collected, but this section is where it's make or break time in sector 1.
He is up by just under 800 of a second, and now we get to the middle sector, where it's all about maximum commitment to gain the most time. Obviously, coming through turn 7, you really want to be getting over that curb as much as possible without invalidating through the castle now. Maximum commitment, brushing the walls as you climb up the hill. And on the exit there, good on the traction there for Colin as we head down now towards turn 15, and he might just about get a tow from the Mercedes up ahead of him on track.
Oh, that is going to be interesting indeed. We'll find out. We'll see what he could do. I believe Owen, or I thought it was going to be Pelsley on the lap, but nope, he's not. Pelsley's not here. Owen White's going to be next driver on the lap, so we'll go on board with Colin, then Owen. I've noticed not many drivers have given a tow apart from the Aston Martins and the 2 McLarens. Those are the only teams I've noticed that have been given the tows. So let's watch Colin R. Mason. I've been trying to find his pre-race interview because I couldn't find anything. What's it going to be for the Welshman. He goes P2. What a sensational lap time from the Ferrari driver. Much better than real life, I should say. Owen Wyatt next across the line. This looks tidy from him. P3. Only attempts shy of Colin R. Mason. Then we've got the two Alpines next. First is Senna, your reigning champion. Of course, he's not going to be champion this season, but he's just out there to have some fun. He doesn't look too comfortable compared to obviously other tracks, but he's only got the game recently. Up to line he goes. P8, not too shabby then. Let's watch the Aston Martins because they're working the toe quite nicely indeed, but I don't think Axelot does want the toe there. Mike, you could take us through the end of this qualifying session. Can anyone beat Ben Mills' time?
Well, we got Axelot, who's off a second up in the middle sector as he comes to the line now. And what's it going to be for the Aston Martin? P5 in the end. And we got Callum Armed, who's 2 tenths up in the middle sector. He could potentially have enough to jump himself onto the front row here with a decent amount of VRS still available to him and a good amount of deployment. As he comes to the line, we're going to see improved lap times coming through now from everyone else, but Callum Armed up to P4, so all Welsh second row.
That is insane. I think they're going to be all happy with that. I didn't see where Alex reached 10th place. Okay, that explains it. So, your order then will be as follows. Of course, we still got to go through engine and gearbox penalties, so this could shape things up. Ben Mills, I know he's taking a car wear penalty of some sort, so he's not going to be starting on pole. Marco in second, then we got Colin, Callum, Owen Wyatt, Axelot, Lukey, Casper, Nick, Alec, Senna, Kieran, Arnold, Jake, Chris, and Curry. That is your order going into the race. And of course, these drivers will be doing a little bit of the dummy race before we go into the main race action. But I'm going to get up on my phone as to which drivers have got car or engine or gearbox penalties, as we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 drivers taking penalties. Of course, one driver not here, so it's going to be rolled to next week for him. I don't think Collie's going to be here either, so there's 2. So, we've got Collie that was meant to be taking his engine penalty. He's not here, it doesn't look like. Axelot's taking his engine penalty. So is Ben Mills. Nick's taking his engine penalty. Jay Collins and Senna. Halsey's meant to take his engine penalty, but he's not here. And taking gearbox penalties is Colin R. Mason, Lukey and Kieran. With the likes of Colin, he's probably going to be gutted that he's taken a gearbox penalty, but at least he's only starting 5 places back, not 10 places back. Of course, gearbox is 5 place grid penalty, engine is 10 place grid penalty. And I know some drivers have got grid penalties for being very naughty last week as well, so take that into account. Which does mean, Mike, Marco, due to Ben's engine penalty, will be starting on pole position here tonight.
That's exactly what Marco will be wanting, starting at the front. Try to build a gap nice and early if you can, and just try to run your own race. Obviously, starting in the midfield, just as a lot of the drivers who are going to be serving the engine or gearbox will be, it's going to be a lot trickier for them in the first opening laps, because it's so easy just to nip a little bit of your front wing by just running a little bit deep into one of these tight corners.
Yeah, I think both of us have done it in the race at some point where we went a bit too deep and slid and pretty much hit the wall during practice or the race itself. So I think we are going to see quite a few instances in Turn 1, I think, especially from the midfield. I think if you're not taking your car wear penalty and if you're starting near the front, you're probably glad you're doing that, because you're going to probably avoid the carnage in towards turn number 1 there, and that is what Marco is doing. And I believe Owen will be joining him as well. Now, let's talk about Owen for a second. He was very unlucky last week. I do believe he got front wing damage at a few points during the race, and that was at a track where it was another low downforce track, but it was less narrow. It was, people had more space to overtake. But with a track like this, the walls are right next to you. There's people like him that can't afford to do that, but Owen starting that high up today with no car wear penalties, this could be a great opportunity for him to do very well. And from experience in other leagues, Owen does like this circuit. Touch wood.
Yeah, and Owen will be hoping that he's going to be able to get through with minimum issues. Obviously, around here like anything can happen, like absolutely anything. Of course, I, making sure you do not nip any of your front wing off is crucial, especially early on. And honestly, the worst thing that can happen for any of these drivers is if they do what I did and get yourself rear wing damage, because that is absolutely horrible around this circuit.
Yeah, absolutely horrible. I know, I think I was jeffing someone in the P3 tier and he was running rear wing damage for quite a lot of the race. And it's an absolute nightmare because you got to ignore the racing line braking points. Because if you do that with rear wing damage, you will send yourself into a spin. You've got to brake so much earlier. And Azerbaijan is probably one of the worst tracks to get rear wing damage around here. So please, wherever you do not get rear wing damage around Azerbaijan. I think another track I've heard is quite bad is Zandvoort and Jeddah as well. So yes, I have seen people get front wing rear wing damage in Baku, and it's not nice. So let's hope we don't see the same here tonight, of course. But there's plenty of drivers that were hoping for a bit of rain today, but I will get a quick reminder as to what the weather is going to be. It's going to be clear to light cloud to clear for this evening, which means completely dry for the entirety of the race. A few people will ask what they're hoping for today. Chris is hoping for a fun race and score some points, but he has a bit of stick drift. Speaking to someone who I'm friends with that has stick drift on his controller, stick drift, especially on the PS5, is never fun.
It's never fun at all. Of course, he's going to be fighting his analog stick and that throughout the entirety of the race. And around a circuit like this, stick drift is definitely a major hindrance now for him. So, I mean, if he gets through the race without getting any wing damage, which fingers crossed that he can, that's a huge achievement, I think.
Yeah, I think it must be very difficult at the best of times. I don't even want to race on the F1 game on a controller. So there we go. It's an absolute nightmare. So fair play to those of you that are still having a stick drift. But I know Casper was asked about his setup. He, of course, is not leaking it because he doesn't want anyone to have a setup, which is fair enough. I've seen quite a lot of pre-race interviews that are not giving away anything into what setups people are going to be running. Kieran is hoping for a top 5 tonight. Kieran's pace was looking pretty decent at the start of qualifying. He can climb his way up through the order. It's a DRS OP track, especially on this back straight. So I think Kieran is looking pretty confident going into this as well. What is everyone going to do who's got engine or gearbox penalties? Because we've seen in both tiers, people climb their way up the order to finish that high up. How can they perform like Jacob, who got an engine penalty and went from 12th to win the race? And how could someone like, say, Salau in P2 started last and went to finish, I think, 4th, I think it was, or 5th? So it is possible. Both tiers below have did it. So how could the P1 drivers do it?
Well, I think the key for him is getting through the first couple of laps and issue-free. No wing damage in the first couple of laps. And then it's about timing your overtakes and just making the smart decisions, because obviously there's some corners around you do not want to go side by side at, and then you got to look at the strategy, how valuable is the undercut, and are you gonna box for a set of the hards on your first stint? Are you gonna go double medium? So you're starting on the hards and maybe trying to go a little bit deeper into the race, and then obviously you got to be keeping an eye out for any safety cars or virtual safety cars where it could potentially give you an advantage.
Yeah, of course, virtual safety cars always plague me around this circuit, and you can't stop. We saw that with Furious Formula in P3. You can't stop there. There's just not moments where you're like in the green at one point, and then you're suddenly like a second in the red. It's just an absolute nightmare. And I think in P3 earlier we saw about 5 or 6 drive-throughs, which is quite a lot. So these drivers have got to play it really well. They have to keep into a relatively positive delta, because otherwise they're going to cause a bit of trouble. I don't think we're going to see any safety cars tonight, but I'm probably going to be absolutely be jinxed. So apologies if we do get a safety car tonight. Let's get our predictions in early before we go through our sponsors. Mike, I'll start with you. Who's your top three? And don't say Axelot. Joking.
No. I was just winding them up last week, and it was fun to do. But yeah, honestly, I think for the race win, I'm gonna go Marco for the race win. I think him starting from pole position, showing the pace he had in qualifying, is going to be fantastic advantage for him to get away nice and early. P2. Sure, I'm actually going to go for. I'm just going to go for one of our returning drivers. I think Senna can get himself up the order. Obviously, he's a very quick driver, as we know. He is learning, and I think over the course of the race, he'll just get quicker and quicker. And I think he'll find himself towards the front by the end. And then P3, the final spot on the podium. I think maybe Ben. I think Ben will carve his way back through.
I have a bit more faith in Ben because you saw his pace in qualifying was absolutely insane. So I think Ben's going to do what Jacob did in P3. I think Ben Mills, no pressure Ben, is going to take the victory tonight here in the P1 tier. And I think Marco's going to finish in second. And I'm going to go with a bold one here. I'm going to go with Alex. P3, because he's going to be probably starting high up due to the engine penalties. So I'm going to go there, and Marco's probably not going to be that far behind. It's become a much more sweaty tier, and I absolutely love it. Of course, we've got some people that are used to the game. I know the Alpines may be slower to start with, Mike, but just watch out in a few races' time. They'll be back to their normal selves as they get used to it.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why Oscar, I predict Senna to do well here, because obviously a couple of seasons ago, if anyone does remember that epic freeway battle we had. I believe it was Senna, Ben Mills, and Tony, if I remember correctly, a few seasons back at Baku in a freeway scrap. I mean, it's a track that he knows very well. Obviously, he is coming in a bit green to the game, but obviously, class is permanent. Like, you know, I mean, he is going to be able to get the grip of the track, and I think he will climb his way through.
Yeah, I can see what you mean there, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts in the chat in just a moment. But before we do that, let's go through our sponsors. Our first sponsor being Next Level Racing. These are the prizes that these drivers could win this season. Of course, we don't know who's going to get what until the end of the season, so watch this space on our socials. But look at that. Look at those lovely prizes. I'm buzzing for this. Of course, we've got Pure Sim Gear. You can get 10% off all their products, including some sim racing gloves or socks, by using the code OHR10P at checkout. And also the winner of the most combined poles and fastest laps, Speedster, will win a pair of Pure Sim Gear gloves or socks. Then we got Sim Racing Setup, our newest sponsor to the league. You can get a discount with them, and they provide so many setups for F1 at 25 for all tracks. Dry setups, wet setups, esports setups, or even a safe setup for those drivers that are new to the game. So if you want to have a go at maybe racing around Baku with an SRS setup, use the code OneHubRacing at checkout to get 5% off. And we got some prizes for each driver of the day each week. And of course, the driver of the season wins a £100 voucher. Of course, we've got our partners Vespertine that support our championship apparel and also help out with the payment system to the league. And finally, our partners at SimGrid. Without SimGrid, we'll have to be filling out forms and spreadsheets. It'll be an absolute nightmare. And of course, Vespertine, by the way, they're providing merch to some of our prizes this season. So we have got through the sponsors, thank goodness. Let's head to the main race action then for One Hub Race. Of course, we went through our predictions, so we think it's going to do well. I was going to go through the order for the grid, but I'm not going to spoil things too much. But we know that Marco's going to be on pole. Mike, what does Marco need to do as he heads through into turn one?
So you think about the start, make sure he gets a good launch off the line, hold P1 going through turn 1 and 2, and then it's just going to be about managing his pace, managing his ERS, trying to build a gap if he can, but just making sure that he can get through the first opening laps without any issues. The last thing he wants is to have a poor start and be side by side going into turn 2, for example, which is a very tight left-hander and very easy. The car on the outside can clip the wall on the outside, and the car on the inside can very easily spin it on that curb. So he's got to stay focused for the restart.
I have to say, the dirty air around turn 2, 3 area is going to be an absolute nightmare on lap number 1, especially if you're starting that low down. You've got to brake really early because otherwise you're going to probably get into the runoff area. So I expect to see quite a few front wings or end plates flying about on the first lap for some of our drivers, because maybe some drivers have not practiced too much for this race, which is fair enough, but quite a lot of people have practice quite a bit as well. It is the final race of the first half of the season. These drivers have got to do well here if they want to carry on their championship charge. Of course, we've got Axelot that is leading the way by a few points to his nearest rival, Marco. But we're about to go away with the 5 red lights here in the P1 tier tonight at Baku. And it is Atcher. Let's see who gets the best of launch. A bit of a squirm for Marco, but Callum already gets the jump that he needs to in towards T1. Of course, he's not taking edge about it. I see the end plate flying about from one of the Aston Martins. That's not good. I think that might be Chris, but I will check in just a moment. A lot of end plate flying about in towards turn 2 type of area. But
Colin around.
Yeah, Colin around. I think he was one of them. And what a bad start to his race. But the front 4 are just running away with it. Lovely stuff.
Yeah, I think from what I saw there, going through turn 2, a little bit of a Constantino effect. I think potentially Lukey might have picked up a bit of front wing damage on the back of Arnold, and I think that caused a Constantino effect, and I think Colin got caught out by it all.
Yeah, and I think if one person has an incident, then it's hard for people to avoid it pretty much. So yeah, I think that's what Colin done. I think J. Cole got caught up in that as well. So, but Marco and Callum running away with it at the moment. I expect to see quite a few people trying to hang it out a little bit, because I think for most drivers, I did just see the end plate fly by for quite a lot. Oh, no, Casper is at the moment in the wall on turn 15. Luckily, no serious damage because he's not out of the race, but he's lost quite a bit of his front wing, unfortunately. That's going to make this part especially very difficult. Ben Mills, by the way, I did say never underestimate him. He's already up into 5th place, and he's going to he's up to 5th now. He's past Casper. He's going to try and get past Alex too. Ben is on a man one as Casper understandably goes into the pit. Same with Lukey.
Yeah, Ben Mills on a charge right now. He's on the back of Alex. DRS, of course, enabled. Alex just about getting DRS on Owen there, but Owen, no DRS on the top 2. They have gone away in the distance as Marco and Callum early on. And for Ben, he needs to make quick work of both Alex and Owen if he wants to get himself into the conversation for the race win.
And understandably, the top 8 are on the medium compounded tyres, which is what I would expect the drivers to be going on. Kieran, the only one from the top 13 that have stayed out, is gone onto the hard compounded tyres, and that's not the smartest move, I reckon, but he's doing quite well to keep up with them. Anyway, let's just hope he's got a spare set of hards with him, because otherwise he's going to find life very difficult indeed. Marco is now breaking free of Callum just a little bit, but Callum was like, no, thank you. I'm going to try my best to close in a little bit. So obviously we don't know people's ERS levels, but you burn so much by not using it at all towards the start finish straight. You use so much even on medium, so I wonder if some people are going to be very tactical with their ERS usage today. Let's watch our front 2 as they're the closest at the moment. You got to be within 6 tenths or below in order to try and go for the move
Colin
here.
in the wall.
Colin's in the wall. That is in towards turn 7, which is a very common thing to do. But let's watch Ben Mills. Ben Mills looks like he's the closest to going for another move. That's not just one driver, but 2 drivers he's got in the space of 2 sections of the same part of the circuit. But Alex is going to try and bite back, but Ben's like, no, sorry. Well, that P4 is mine. Ben Mills, he's on a charge to get past Owen now, and I won't be surprised if he does. He's going to have the DRS. Got a bit squirmy on the exit. I don't think he's going to get it yet. But look at the ERS he's used, Mike. He's hardly got any. What about Owen? He's got the same. He's hardly got a lot of ERS to use at this point.
Yeah, Owen's got a very healthy amount of ERS ready for deployment. Obviously, Ben is going to focus on saving his battery in the middle sector while he can take advantage of these hard braking zones and try to save up that battery as best as possible. Obviously, you saw the gap increase from Owen and Callum massively due to the fact that Owen did not have a DRS, and that is why Ben needs to make quick work of getting through on the kick Sauber in front.
Yeah, I mean, if Ben doesn't get a move on now, the dirty air, the tyre wear is going to play a massive factor because you burn so much more tyre wear just stuck behind another car. So as soon as Ben is with the clear air, the better, and he could just start saving the tyre before he goes on to a hard compounded tyre a little bit later on. It'll be a few laps before we start to see quite a few people come in. I think we did see in the P2 tier people pit as early as lap 4, so we may see people pit next time about. So Ben needs to get a move on here. I think it's going to be easy pickings for the Williams driver. Even though he's missed 2 races, it's like he hasn't even missed a race. Through he comes then, uses the toe from Owen, and he gets past quite comfortably. Kieran doing the same thing on Chris, but Chris is not going to give up without a fight. Is he going to try and get the lunge in towards T1? The answer to that is no. Kieran defends nicely. So Kieran is up to 8th. Ben Mills is up into 3rd place, but he's 2.3 seconds behind Callum on arm. That's all the time that they have lost just by staying behind the kick Sauber driver, as Callum has got past Marco into the lead of this race.
Yeah, easy overtake there with DRS on the run down at turn number 3. Callum and Arm getting through on Marco. And now let's see the gap between Ben and Marco and see how much it closed down by in this middle sector.
This is going to be interesting. I'm keeping an eye on the gap, 1.9 seconds already. You can see that the train is closing. Owen is even still in this train. Alex too. Arnaud as well. Arnaud being a dark horse in this. He's doing quite well. And of course, he's not maybe as good in qualifying, but the race is where he really shines. Like I've seen in other leagues, his race pace is sensational. So watch out for him in his race. His race is far from over, as he's a really good tyre whisperer, is Arnaud, on the F1 game. So he's got a fine attempt to close in on the likes of Alex, but we'll find out about that in just a moment. Owen is already out of DRS to Ben Mills, which will allow Alex to close in ever so slightly. Will we see any of those drivers who are stuck in traffic come into the pits? And I think the only team that's going to have trouble by thinking about when they should pit is the likes of Aston Martin, because we've got Atstock in P7, Chris in P9. They're not that much spaced out, so one person has to stay out. And from experience, the undercut is huge. I've noticed it from both sides of the coin in the race I just did, as it just gets past Chris. But yeah, the undercut is huge around it. If you don't hit at the right time, it's going to cause you trouble. As Nick has had a bit of a side on the exit turn 1.
Yeah, Nick having a bit of a side, but he does get the move done on Chris, so Nick will be happy now. He is up into P9, but Chris with an opportunity to come back at him with a DRS coming down towards turn 3. I think he's just going to be happy to sit in behind, maybe try and save a bit of that battery up, as Ben has now got himself on the cusp of DRS on the top 2.
This is very exciting. Are we going to start to see the medium start to slide at this point? I'm surprised nobody has taken the early gamble. I thought I would have seen at least 1 or 2 drivers come into the pit lane, as Ben has had a tank slapper just before the castle section, and that's going to cost him quite a bit of time. But I don't think it's costed that much time, because Owen is still within about 9/10 of Ben, so that was very lucky. But one disadvantage, he's already out of DRS to Marco once again, so the time he gained, he lost already.
Yeah, but he's managed to gain a decent amount going through turn 15, so he's back within that 1 second window. And for Ben, this is huge right now, because obviously he's used a lot of his battery to try and get himself in this fight with the top 3. And obviously Marco, one of the drivers that has taken advantage of the fact that Callum and Ben have missed the previous 2 races. So it's important for both Callum and Ben to get themselves ahead of Marco, to try and claw some points back in the championship.
Yeah, I mean, the championship we've seen many times where you don't have to win as many races to win the championship. As long as you're the most consistent and score good results week after week after week, that's what wins you titles. And if you keep DNFing or keep missing races, you're going to have to score decently throughout the rest of the races that you don't miss in order to capitalise. It's going to be interesting, as we've seen pit stops, Mike, Alex, Nick, Chris, both come in at laps where you would expect people to come in. I would expect Axelot to come into the pits next lap, but for everybody else who are all mediums right now, they're going to be thinking, right, should I come in? We'll have to wait and see. As there's a lot of slides happening on the exit of turn 6 and 7 now. These mediums are starting to struggle. If I were you, I would come into the pits now.
Yeah, absolutely. And if the top 3 stay out, as we got a yellow flag, I think that's Curry that's gone off into the runoff on the exit of turn 2. And yeah, it is. If I'm Owen right now, if the top 3 stay out, I'm coming into the pits and I'm going for the undercut.
Yeah, that's what I would do. I had exactly the same problem when I was stuck in, I think it was my stint before my final stop. I was just stuck in so much traffic, and the only way to gain a bit of time on some drivers was to pit. That is what these drivers have got to do now. So we'll watch these drivers go through these final sets right now. Just look at the speed that these drivers are carrying right now. We'll keep an eye on ERS usage as well. I'm sure Mike will be doing that quite easily whilst we see all this action, as nobody of the top 3 come in. But Owen must have listened to us. He has come in to the pits. And let's talk about the pit entry for a second. You could either lose time or gain time through here, but it's just so easy around here, as we've seen in all but 2 tiers this evening. It's so easy to get a 10-second time penalty around here. There may be times where you just go a bit slower so you don't, well, even though you lose time, but you'll probably gain a bit more time because you won't get that 10 seconds. We'll have to wait and see. So we'll see how much Owen and Axelot gain, if any, on these drivers. Alex, by the way, is already ahead of Owen by a 10th. Well, 9/10 per second. The undercut is powerful. If that doesn't make you sleep at night, then I don't know what would. So we'll see what everyone else does as they make their way into the pits next lap. Axelot pitted, and Axelot made the overcut work. He got ahead of Chris. So I wonder if Chris struggled in his pit stop. As Curry's out of the race, he's retired in the pit lane. So that is his race over. So no VSC or safety car because he retired in the pit lane.
Yeah, and obviously it's not what you want to see. And I mean, around a track like this, it's, I mean, me personally, around a track like this, stay out, even if you're having a terrible race, because you never know what can happen. I mean, in P2 earlier, it was,
Did
it was
everyone
one
get...
DNF.
Was it one DNF? Yeah.
Point. Yeah, it was one DNF away from a point, and I had rear wing damage the entire time. So, like, never give up. Like, keep going, because you never know what can happen. But here comes Marco on Callum as Callum comes into the pits. Ben follows suit as well. Oh, Ben clips the inside curb. Ben hits the inside wall on the pit lane entry, and he's lost a good amount of time there.
Oh.
And that was one thing I was going to say then, Jess. That pit lane entry, if you take it too quick, you can really do yourself in, and that potentially could be a bit of side pod damage for Ben now.
Or even rear wing damage. It's going to be an absolute nightmare. And we see it in P3, by the way, that everyone that finished scored a point just by not giving up. Even Quinn was racing with rear wing damage throughout most of the race and still kept going. So just don't give up. Do not retire from this race, because you're more than likely going to get points than not. If you finish, just keep it on the road. And I'm just watching Ben. Owen's got ahead of Ben now. That's how much time Ben has lost because of that pit lane error.
Yeah, and also look at the undercut from Alex and Owen. It's work to perfection because they're on the back of Callum now.
And Owen, interestingly, has gone on the mediums as Lukey's out of the race, and we got a VSC. Virtual safety car deployed. Now, they've got to keep to a delta, Mike. And I've noticed this. This is one of those tracks where the VSC is both. There's one point where you're in the green and suddenly, boom, you're in the red.
Yeah, we're going to have to keep an eye, make sure that everyone is keeping to the delta times. Obviously, for Marco, Kieran and Arnold, they're going to be hoping the VSC stays out long enough that they can maybe try and take advantage. But from experience earlier on, Jess, the VSC does seem to come in quite quickly after it gets deployed.
I think it always comes in when most people were going to go into the pits, but I think there was one driver who got very unlucky with the virtual safety car. I think I pitted a lap before, if I remember, and I was like to myself, oh, for goodness sake, if it was a lap earlier, then it would have been absolutely perfect. As Marco goes in, Kieran goes in. If you haven't come in yet, you've got to at this point. You're going to gain so much time.
Oh, Alex!
Now, this is what we saw with P3 earlier. And it was on a straight as well. He's lost so much more time. Alex is going to service drive through, and that's Owen up another position. Owen has gained buckets here due to other people make a mistake. As Kieran has worked that VSC to perfection. That was timed nicely. Because of that VSC, Kieran's up into P2.
Yeah, and look at Marco, 2-second gap at the road.
Oh no, Kieran's up to P3, never mind, because Marco's on the hardcore ballad tyres. Now Kieran's up to P2 as he passes Callum.
Yeah, that VSC worked to perfection for both Kieran and Marco there. Obviously, Marco now has the gap, but he is on the slower tyre right now compared to Kieran, Callum and Owen in behind. And we're going to see if they can close that gap down. Looks like Kieran is going to be closing that gap down. He is doing a fantastic job so far in the middle sector, as he's just managed to get through on Callum moments ago. And Ben Mills, that mistake into the pit lane has dropped him from P3 down to P6.
Big oof, and he was on course to be winning this race, and we know how Arnold likes to defend around Baku. He defends a lot, and we know Arnold is not going to make Ben's task of trying to overtake him look easy. So for Ben's sake, he's going to hope that he has, Arnold has a boat and Ben has low straight line speed. And we know with Ben, whilst we were practicing for him, Ben has low straight line speed. So I would expect Ben to make mincemeat out of Arnold and get past, but it does depend on what Arnold is running wings rise. So here comes Ben Mills. He's going to use the straight line speed to perfection, and look at that. Just look at that. He made it look easy. He's already up into 5th. He's going to try and go on a comeback charge. It's going to be a lot harder than expected, but never say never. Do not give up, says Ben Mills. He's still going to be on a charge to still try and go on that podium because it is still possible for him. He's already almost within DRS of Owen, but he needs to find 8 temps, and with how quick he is, anything is possible as we head lap 10. As Jacob, by the way, trying to get past Casper. We also got Senna in there as well. Almost 3 wide into turn 1 there. Luckily, no one hit each other. Great racing.
Yeah, nice freeway battle by Senna, Casper and J. Cole for the tail end of the points. Colin's going to be hoping for a safety car to get himself back into this race. But right now, no luck for the Scuderia Ferrari. But right now, Jess, I mean, Ben is showing some fantastic pace here. He's closing up onto the back of Owen with the deficit in the tyres. And he's bringing Arnold along for the ride. Arnold seems to be happy sitting in behind Ben and just getting towed along here.
Honestly, I think there's some drivers that prefer race pace, and there's certain drivers that prefer quality pace. Arnold is, I think, a driver that likes the race pace because he can manage his tyres effectively. Ben is a mixture of the both, and he's going to be within DRS. Yes, he is. Imagine where he would have been if he didn't have that pit lane error. He would have been fighting for the win, but now he's going to fight Owen. Well, I think it's going to be, could it be easy pickings? He's got to find 2 temps to make sure he can try and close in, because if you're more than 6 temps away, then I think you're going to have to wait until the next lap, unless you have better straight line speed than the driver in front. He's hardly got any ERS to use, which is going to make things harder for him. Callum on the medium, just at the fastest lap of the race. Ben still behind Owen at this point. You just got to be within 6 temps, because otherwise you're going to struggle.
Oh, Arnold, I just got on board with Arnold there as he hits the wall. I'm not sure if that's front wing damage as well for the Alpine, and I get some terrible camera angles here to have a little look, and yeah, he's missing his end plate.
Oh, that's annoying. That is annoying for ERTR now. And I think he's going to be absolutely frustrated with himself that he made that mistake. So, but let's just hope he hasn't got any end plate damage. I think he's losing quite a bit of time. So I wonder, Mike, if he does have damage to his car.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he's missing the front right end plate, I think, on his car is Arnold. and you can see just how much time it is costing him to Ben and Owen up ahead, and it won't be long now before Axelok is going to be on the back of the Alpine here.
Yep. Axelok is probably counting his lucky stars right now in that Aston Martin. He's going to pray that he's going to close in. And by the way, interesting fact, if you run realistic performance around here, the Aston Martin is an absolute boat. So he's probably glad he's in an equal performance Aston Martin and not a realistic performance Aston Martin, because a realistic performance Aston Martin around here is absolute rubbish. So Ben Mills, he's got another chance to get past Owen, and he's within the 10th bandwidth that he needs to try and get past him. It's a question of when at this point rather than if for Ben Mills. Callum and Armed is going to try and do the same thing. I don't know who to follow. I think Callum looks quite close because this is the battle for P2 here. Kieran keeps the lead, Callum takes second, Ben Mills passes Owen up to fourth. There's so much going on for the fight for the top 5 right now. Alex is going to try and do the same on the back of Chris, and I think it's going to be easy pickings for him as well. Yes, Alex does get past Chris just before we hit the turn 1 section.
Yeah, of course, Alex on a recovery drive after that drive-through penalty, trying to get himself back up the order as best as possible. And yeah, Ben getting through on Owen as smooth as you like. And the big thing that I noticed then on that lap, Jess, Kieran dropped Marco out of DRS range. So I'm wondering if the mediums will be able to drop Marco out of DRS range, and maybe Kieran and Callum can try to pull away from the Mercedes in behind.
We'll have to wait and see. But I've just noticed that Marco's gained a bit more time in that section of corners anyway, so we'll see what Marco could do. These mediums don't last that long at all in terms of optimum pace, so in about a lap or two those mediums are going to be starting sliding for these two, and Marco's going to gain quite a bit of time. We are going to keep an eye on Ben Mills to see if he could close in just a little bit. Bearing in mind, at One Hub Racing, it is a mandatory 2-stop race, or every driver has got to complete at least 2 stops. We'll get your stops on your screen. Casper and Colin have done 2 stops already, but their races have gone from bad to worse, unfortunately. It is not the race that they would have wanted to see here at One Hub Racing around Baku. Their race would have they would have preferred for it to go better. Meanwhile, for Kieran and Callum, this is a battle for the lead here. Here goes Callum. Can he take the race lead away from Kieran in towards T1? The answer to that is no. Owen, by the way, is still keeping touching distance of Ben Mills on the set of the medium tire, so he's doing quite decently here as well. So nice to see Owen, despite the fact he's on older tyres compared to everybody else, even just close in on tyres that maybe are not the best right now. But here comes Callum. Is he going to get past Kieran? Nope, he does not. If I was Marco, Mike, I'll just sit pretty, because he knows his tyres will probably be at the operating window that he needs in about a lap's time. Yeah,
if you're Marco right now, it's cool, calm, collected time. Just let these two battle in front, wear their tyres out, keep your head, and then obviously you got the battery to try and get the overtakes when they present themselves. But the one thing I was going to bring up as well now, Jess, obviously Kieran, Callum and Owen have done medium, so they're going to get the undercut by going on to the set of the hards next. And we're getting into that window now where they may potentially be looking at that undercut in the next lap or two.
Yeah, I think I pitted around, I think it was either end of lap 14 I pitted in P2. So yes, I agree with you there. I think if the first lot of undercuts will be next lap, some people may do it this lap as well, because the hards last ages. But the annoying thing you got to manage is the rears. It is a rear heavy circuit where the rears wear very quickly compared to the front. So you got to manage that effectively. But we know with some drivers, their tyre whispers anyway, so they can afford to pit early if they wanted to for the undercut, as I think we could see Kieran and Callum pitting quite a bit earlier than everybody else. Here comes Callum to the inside. Is he going to go and get the lead here? Nope, he is not. Owen has opted to pit early, and of course he is, because he pitted I think a few laps earlier before, so he's going for the undercut. I would expect because he started on mediums to go on to accept the hard tyres until the end of this race. Could this be a stroke of genius, or will his tyres fade towards the end? We'll have to wait and see. He wants to see if he can get winning clear air, and this is great racing between these two.
I just saw Kieran then getting a little bit out of shape on board with Callum and Andy was getting close on the run into turn 3. Kieran on the exit again, all out of shape. So maybe a sign that the mediums are starting to fall away from these two. Marco right now is just sitting pretty in behind, but Ben Mills closing in 1.5 seconds behind. And honestly, we could be seeing a Marco Ben Mills fight in the next lap or two.
I think so as well. He's almost winning DRS, so yeah, I think the memes are going. I think you saw when I was watching quite a few of the other medium runners earlier on that they were starting to struggle a bit around this point. So if you were to pit, you would pit now, as it always Callum had a bit of a moment once again for the exit of turn 15. That was so close for the McLaren driver. They can't afford to squabble too much because there's going to be people that are going to have much clearer air. They're going to try and get that undercut, but the undercut is going to be harder for Owen because he's got to deal with that lots of traffic. So he's going to hope that these drivers come into the pit soon. Is any of the top two going to come in to the pits? No.
Double overtake.
Double
overtake.
Here they go. And is Marco going to get the lead here? The answer to that is yes. Squeezing to the inside. Still going to be free wide once again in towards the middle of turn 2. And Kieran gets the cut back once again. And Kieran gets the lead. This is insane.
And here comes Callum. Callum's coming back at them as well on the exit as DRS wide open. Here goes Marco now going to look to the outside on Kieran. Backs out of it wisely. Ben's just sitting in behind this thinking, okay, like this is definitely about to kick off by here now. I'm sitting back and enjoying this. Ben's got the popcorn out.
I think Ben's doing the right thing, to be honest, just sitting behind, because you don't want to be too close with the dirty air, but you don't want to get held up too much. You got to be staying behind this. And I mean, if Ben still goes on and wins this race after having an annoying pit lane entry, then he gets my driver of the day right there. Yeah, I'm sorry, but that you can see Kieran's memes were struggling in the castle section, and he's sliding again on the exit of the castle section. That's how hard those memes are going to be at the moment. Oh my god, I'm not liking. I wouldn't want to buy on these mediums for 6 laps. I would probably end up slipping and sliding everywhere. So let's watch these 4 as they make their way again in towards turn 16. I would expect what would Marco and Ben do? Would they pit now to just stay out of the traffic, or would they prefer to have clear air on those hard tyres? It could go either way.
I think Kieran and Callum need to come into the pits because here goes Ben Mills immediately past Callum. And yeah, Callum's in.
Smart move. Smart move from Callum. Yellow flag. That is one of the Ferraris of Colin, who's had a moment on the exit of turn 4. Oh.
It's not been Colin's day. He showed great pace in qualifying.
Not good for the Welshman.
No, it's not. He's having an Ivor Bryn Mike race. I think he's imitating me. He's imitating me in P1 from what I did in P2.
Oh,
it's not a good race at all.
You know what J. Cole was doing? These guys were having a battle, and I think J. Cole was doing his best to make sure Callum had the gap to Owen, to make sure the undercut wasn't viable. Oh, they made contact. Oh. That has worked brilliantly for Callum there. I think if Owen pitted just a lap later, he would have probably been within this battle. But because of that, Owen has just lost so much time. But I wonder if there's some team games being played right now.
Yeah, I think J. Cole definitely getting the elbows out for his teammate there. And that's fantastic work from J. Cole to help his teammate out. Right now, though, I mean, Owen's got to try and get through on Chris, but Callum and Armed has already bolted up the road. He's already 1.5 seconds ahead of Chris. And then a nice little 3-second gap to push into now before he catches up to Alex.
Yeah, because don't forget, Alex has already stopped in this race already, but he's still got one more stop to go. So he's got to find 2.7 seconds. So Ben Mills has passed Marco, but Marco's in. But can Ben Mills get Kieran in towards T1 round the outside? Job done for the Williams. But it's Kieran going to fight back. Bit of a squiggle for Kieran as he exits turn 2, as Ben still keeps the lead. And I don't know what's going on with Kieran, Mike. Why is Kieran staying out on those mediums that are just dying at this stage? It's just no point staying out. Surely you got to go on another tire. And he's almost hit the wall there.
I'm trying to think. Did Kieran start on the set of the hards? He did, didn't he?
Can you
Yes,
check
he
on
did.
race director?
Yeah, he started on the set of the hards, so he's trying to stretch this out so he can go on another set of mediums. So
Yeah, he is.
I think that's Kieran.
Yeah, I think that's what he's trying to do at this stage. But will this come back to bite him? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But Ben did the right thing getting past Kieran there. Oh, look at that side in the castle section. And again, he's already a second away from Ben Mills. I think Ben Mills has got this victory in the bag.
Well, obviously, there's definitely going to be a point of contention for Ben Mills once he makes his pit stop, because he should probably come out behind Owen at this point. Now Owen's been released. Marco has come out behind Callum, but Marco's going to set the mediums. They're going to be absolutely done in at the end of this race. So
why would you go on a set of mediums at this point of the race? Surely if you were to go on mediums, probably about lap 19 at the earliest.
It's definitely an interesting call from Marco, but yeah, Ben Mills and now Kieran into the pit lane, and
surely Alex has got to come in as well. Does he come in? Yes.
Yes.
So that's everybody near the front who has done the stop. So let's watch Callum and Marco make their way towards T1. Will they come out ahead of Ben and Owen? Yes. But Ben's still right on the back of this. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the P1 fight in Baku. This is going to be crazy. We saw how crazy the P3 fight was and the P2 fight was. This is going to get even crazier. Fasten in, everybody.
Okay, so Jess, lap 18 of 26. Who is in the best spot at the moment? Because Marco and Ben are on a set of the mediums. They're going to be knackered by the end of this race. Callum's on a set of the hards. But it seems like Ben and Marco might have a little bit better pace than Callum at the moment.
But the thing is, they can't afford to be pushing 100% for the majority of the race, because that's where we saw Kieran struggle. And how long was Kieran on those mediums? 7 or 8 laps, and he was struggling at the castle section around then. Oh, it's going to be really hard for these two. And yeah, I think if I had to put my money on the race for him, it would have to be Callum at this point. Unless Ben could get past Marco and Callum and save those tyres until the end of the race. It's gonna be crazy.
I think the best hope that Marco and Ben have for the race win is to get past Callum in the next lap or two to try and build a gap while their mediums are still the better tyres. And then we'll see what happens from there. But here comes Ben and here comes Marco, both with DRS closing in on Callum. It's going to be free wide down the south front straight once again, as Ben to the inside, Marco to the outside. And it's job done for Ben Mills. P3 to P1 down the south in the straight.
And we saw Axelot, I think, just pass someone as well up to P7. Chris and Jaco come into the pits for their final set of tyres. I think Jaco and Chris will go on to a set of the medium tyres, which is a lap I would expect those drivers to come in onto a set of the mediums. I believe that's most people that have done their 2 stops, unless you're Senna. So Senna's the only one that's not done 2 stops yet. Everyone else has done at least 2 now.
Right, now Marco and Ben are ahead of Callum. They need to break DRS as quickly as possible. It's their only chance of getting away to such a degree where they can maybe hold on to potential race win position by the end of this race. But the longer that Callum and Arm stays in the DRS range of these two, the more difficult it's going to be for them come the latter stages when their tyres fall away.
Yeah. I think this is going to be a very crucial stage at this race. I can't believe we're already on lap 19. There's been so much racing already, and I hope you've been enjoying the racing so far here at One Hub Racing. Make sure you leave this stream a like if you haven't already, if you're watching this on YouTube or live on Twitch. Gaz has been saying what about what's happened to Lukey? Lukey binned it, I think, early on, which caused the first VSC of the evening, and I think he had an incident early on in the race as well, which didn't help. So that was his race done quite early on into the race, lap 6 into the race. So yeah, a bit unfortunate for Lukey, but that was why his race was over. Hopefully that explains it for you, Gaza. But Ben takes the lead from Marco, from Callum, and this is going to be the cars, I think, to watch out for in terms of the race win.
Yeah, absolutely. Marco and Ben on the mediums, they have the pace advantage over Callum at this point. But in the closing stages, it will be roles reversed. Callum will have the better pace towards the end on those hard compound tyres. It'll be interesting to see if Owen can close himself back up to Kieran at the end of this race as well, given how wayward Kieran was looking on the worn mediums earlier.
Yeah. Oh, it's Callum had a bit of a moment even on the hard tyres. You can't do that. We thought we would get that later on the medium stint. But no, Callum had a bit of a moment in the car section already. He can't afford to push too much, but he's within 8/10 of Marco already. They got to do a bit of tyre saving at some point in this race. And by the way, let's just look at who's gained the most position of this race. Kieran has gained the most today, up 8. Then we have Senna up 6 and Ben Mills up 5, with Nick and Jacob up 4. This is big. What's happened?
Callum has just ran a little bit too deep through turn 16 and he dropped outside that 1 second window, and now he's used every bit of battery he had to try to get himself back within DRS range, and Ben Mills is almost out of DRS range on Marco as well.
Yeah, 141.5 for Ben Mills. Oh my God. I swear, even if he just makes the smallest mistake, he just still leads. It's insane. But he's got 5 laps to go to see if he can defend from 2 sweats in the league. Meanwhile, Nick's having quite a decent race. He's up to 8th place. I'm sure he would take that at the moment. On a set of the hard combiner tyres. Past Senna. Nicely done.
Yeah, Nick having a very calm race, I'm going to say.
Yes.
Gone a little bit under the radar, which is obviously what Nick would definitely want, and I just go under the radar, collect some points. Casper into the pits, and I'm assuming this will be for a set of sauce, and maybe he tries going for fastest lap. And I think that'll be the battle between Casper and Colin for fastest lap. Maybe J. Cole as well, if he can't catch up to Chris in the closing stages.
Yeah, I think so as well. And speaking of fastest lap points, you get a fastest lap point if you're inside the top 10. And you also get a fastest lap if you're outside the top 10. So 2 drivers will get the fastest lap point. And, we got our first penalty. Owen Wyatt just picked himself up a penalty. So if he wants a chance for a podium today, unfortunately, that's not going to materialise for him. And it's now gone from a 5-way fight to the podium into a 4-way fight for the podium. And that's going to give chance for people like Atsuk and Arnold to close in within that 3-second window very, very soon. But we're on lap 22 now. Ben's pulling up the gap massively. He can just afford to save his tyres near close to the end of this race. And what Cam needs to do, though, he needs to get past Marco race out, because otherwise it's going to be a tall order just to even get past. So through he goes in towards T1. Nicely done so far. But yeah, Cam is just going to be absolutely frustrated with himself that he can't get past Marco.
Yeah, I think for Callum, I would probably save the battery this lap, then push to get past Marco on the start-finish straight.
Yes.
And then go again as Senna out of this race. Unfortunately, I think he came into the pit lane and retired as well. So that's my podium prediction completely gone out the window, because Senna's in the pits and retired from the race. But yeah, I mean, the longer that Ben can pull out this gap, the better he'll look for the race win. Yeah.
I think as long as he could push now and then save later, then he should be absolutely fine here. As you can see how much commitment he's doing towards the castle section. And the lower the wings you run around here, then the more you're going to struggle with your tyre wear, because you're going to gain so much more tyre wear there. So you're going to have to brake super earlier compared to everything else. And you're just making it like that you could brake at any point. It's just amazing from Ben. But Callum He's within 6 tenths. He's got to find a tenth really to do anything about it to Marco. Past turn 16 they go. We're heading towards the final stage of this race. Who's going to get second place? Is it going to be Marco or is it going to be Callum on arms? Odds on a postcard, people, because Callum wants it to be his. His hard tyres are a great temperature right now. Here he goes up into second place, and he's going to try and charge for the race win here. Nicely done. He had to do it now because otherwise there would be no chance.
Yeah, and the one thing he doesn't want now is Marco to come back at him on this second DRS straight. And it looks like Callum's got a fantastic launch out of turn 2, which should hold off Marco down this straight. And now we're going to see if the medium tyres that Ben has had on, if he's taken too much life at them, because now Callum has free air.
I did just see Marco have a little bit of a slide there as well, so I wonder if he was struggling a little bit there. Yellow flag, that's Casper. Had a moment in turn 16, I think 15. Don't go backwards. Luckily, he didn't go backwards. That's fine. So he was still able to get the car going again. I wonder if I was Casper, I would come into the pits and try and get the fastest lap point, because that's the only way that you can salvage this race. He's also a bit front wing as well, so you might as well at this point, if you got front wing damage, just go into the pits, go on a set of softs, try and get the fastest lap point.
Yeah, I think unfortunately for Casper and Colin, if they both come into the pits, I think they both have. They're both going to get lapped now by the race leaders who are just coming onto the start finish straight now. So
they only have one more lap to do it. Yeah. I think you got to time it right, which is probably why they timed it correctly to pit when they did, because if they pitted a lap later, then they probably wouldn't have had a chance to get the fastest lap, I think. So soft compounded tyres, why not? But to be fair, though, there could be one person that will get 2 points, potentially. So we'll have to wait and see. We've got 3 more laps to go. Anything can happen. And yes, Casper is a lap down on the race leader now, which is a bit of a shame.
Ooh.
Which is allowing Callum and Arm to get DRS on Casper, potentially.
Yeah, I was going to say potentially, but also if Casper wants to get fastest lap, he's going to have to try and overtake Ben here, which will give Ben DRS when Ben will be able to hold off Callum. So this could be a very interesting point in this race. Obviously, Casper, he's on the soft tyres. You'd imagine he'd be able to get through on Ben down the start finish straight when he pushes for his fast lap, but that will allow Ben just to hold off on Callum and Armed.
If you want to see how this race is going to unfold, watch this. We have tyres that are going to breaking point with those mediums, and we have Callum, who is really going to chase him down, but I don't think Callum's going to be enough. I think what Ben did on those last few laps was to perfection with that strategy. We are about to start lap 25 of 26 here in Baku, and we've certain drivers that have had very good races so far, but we've had some drivers that have had very rubbish races, and it's really about resetting when we head to Imola next week. Luckily at Imola, it requires much more higher downforce compared to other tracks, so more people are going to do quite decently around here compared to this track. We head now in towards turn number 1. Marco's gained quite a bit to Callum, but not by much. Ben's even pulling out a gap, even with worn tyres. It's insane what he's doing right now. But meanwhile, Alex and Arnold, they're having a ding-dong battle in towards the start-finish straight. We also got Nick winning this as well. This is very clean racing between the pair of them. Alex defends to the inside. Nick gets Arnold in the process as well. That's Alex and Nick up a position.
Yeah, and another thing as well to keep an eye on in the closing lap, Kieran getting onto the back of Marco for that final podium position.
I wonder if Kieran is saving a bit of tyre life in order to go for that particular move, which I think is very, very smart to do so. More experienced drivers won't go for the move on the penultimate lap. They would pick their battle, just have a little bit of an eye on it in the penultimate lap, but don't go for it until the final lap so you can see what you need to do. That is what Kieran is going to do, because you'll have the saved tyre wear, and he'll be have the saved battery, so you'll be able to potentially go for the move. And he's already 9/10 behind Marco, so this is going to be insane. By the way, at its stats, Axelot will be in your top 5, which will make things very interesting in terms of the championship. I do think Marco will be taking the lead away from Axelot at this stage, but I will need to do some mental maths as we head to the end, as Colin nicks the fastest lap of the race so far. Could Casper sneak it? We'll have to wait and see, as he's going through in toward the start, but it's straight. He's ghosted Casper because he's a lap down, so never mind. It looks like the fastest lap could belong to Colin at this stage. We're on the final lap of this race, Mike.
Final lap of the race. Ben done a fantastic job. Once he got into the race, he built the gap, and he's managed his tyres to perfection. You'd think on this lap will be when Callum's going to close in on him, but right now the battle between Kieran and Marco for that final podium position is about to kick off. Kieran to the inside. Has he gone a little bit too deep? No, he gets the car stopped brilliantly, and now Marco needs to save up that battery because he's got one opportunity down the start finish straight now.
Yep, one more opportunity at this point. We saw how, was it Jacob and who was that other driver that was fighting Jacob? Oh no! It's that could have ended in tears there. That could have been a lot worse. He's lucky that Owen's got that penalty, because otherwise he would have lost quite a few places. Those mediums are starting to give up the ghost. I have to say, Kieran is doing a lot better on those mediums at this stage with lower fuel compared to higher fuel. So I think that's your answer. Run the mediums at the end of the race. Where you have lower fuel, you're going to slide less. That's the whole point. But we've still got a few more corners to go for this Williams driver. He's missed Monza. He's missed Belgium last week. We feel like he wasn't even going to close in to the championship. But Ben says, hold my ravioli. He saw Carlos Sainz in real life get a podium, but he's going to do 2 places better. Ben Mills comes across the line. He wins another race here at One Up Racing. He wins in Baku. Callum takes second, and without that mistake from Marco and Kieran's battle for the podium would have been so much closer. Kieran third, Marco fourth. Axelot just about gets fifth on the line by 2/100ths of a second. That's how close it was penalties-wise. Alex seventh, Nick 8th, Arnold on return gets 9th, and Chris, your top 10. I will get fastest lap so I can see who's got it.
Ooh.
It's going to be close, I think.
Pushing.
J. Cole's pushing for fastest lap. I think he's going to get this hit. As Colin's got a 3-second penalty, it doesn't really matter at this stage, but Colin has one final chance. Let's see. Has J. Cole done enough? He's got to beat a 140.0 to get the fastest. No! 3 slower. It's all now on Casper, but he's had a little bit of a moment in turn 6. Oh, no, that is a lap down. Never mind. Now it's all on Colin now, but I don't think he has done it. Let's see what his sector 2 is. I can't believe the fastest lap battle is just so exciting. No, he's 3 seconds down. So Colin gets the fastest lap of the race.
Incredible. Obviously, a good little saving grace for Colin. Obviously, making sure he got himself a point at the end, and he actually picks up 2 points by finishing in P12. But what a race that was. Ben, absolutely fantastic pace throughout. What a fight that Marco and Callum put up, and what a fight that Kieran put up to get that podium in the end.
I did say that Kieran likes these low downforce circuits, and he definitely delivered it today. It's going to be some great points for him in the Drivers' Championship, so watch out for him. He's going to climb his way up the order. So there is your podium. This is going to be quite close in terms of the constructors. I do not want to look at this point of how close it is. I didn't have time to go through the standings, but I kind of wish I did earlier on. But there is your order, and we'll also see who's got the fastest lap inside the top 10, which I believe belongs to Alex. So
Alex.
Alex inside the top 10 gets an extra point, so he'll be happy with that. So your order then, provisionally, of course, there could be Stuart's inquiries. We've got Ben Mills from Callum, from Kieran, Marco, Atslot, Owen, Alex, Nick, Arnold, Chris. We've got J. Cole, Colin, Casper, Senna, Lukey, and Curry. Of course, we've had 3 DNFers. And that is your race done and dusted. We have now got to pick our 2 sim racing setup driver of the day. I'll start off with you, Mike, because I went first last week. Who's your driver of the day, and what would you like to ask him?
Well, I know who you want to give driver of the day to, so I'm going to let you give driver of the day to the driver that you want.
Ben.
I'm going to give my driver of the day to the man who finished on the podium in P3, Kieran, starting from 12th on the grid. And my question for Kieran would be, did you at all in that middle stint on those mediums towards the end, was you worried for your race because it seemed like you were sliding absolutely everywhere?
I even said in the Discord chat that it's been quite painful to drive with him sliding everywhere. So I think that's probably going to be the answer to that question. I've just seen why Owen got the 3 second. It was exactly the same to what we saw Morgan do in the P2 tier. At the exit of the castle section, there's one corner where you could... You don't get any warnings at all, but you can get triple warnings, which is an absolute nightmare. Let's just hope that he's got his race threat, because otherwise he is screwed. Anyway, as you probably guessed, my driver of the day goes to Ben, because despite the fact that he had a bit of a slide in the pit lane entry, he still came out and won the race. His pace was second to none today, and I'd have to say, well done on a race win. And despite you taking a car wear penalty and you having a moment on your first pit stop, did you think you were going to get the win today? That's my question. So that wraps up everything at One Hub Race. You can vote for your driver of the day nominations later on tonight, I believe, or tomorrow, depending on when Salau could do the poll. But next week, we go to a much higher downforce circuit, a much better circuit compared to last game. We go to Imola next week. Quite a few drivers like it here, but it's also quite a tendency that quite a few drivers will pick up track limits. What are you going to expect next week, Mike?
I mean, Imola is definitely going to be one of those races where I think practice is going to tell the difference around our circuit. If you're going into it a little bit green, not doing much practice, I think Imola is really going to show the difference between those that have put the time in and those that have not, especially if any weather comes to plague Imola.
Yes, honestly, if it rains in Imola, I'm going to cry. I would expect the unexpected around here. And that's what we come to live by in terms of Imola in One Hub Racing. So do watch this race. Of course, we got 6 more rounds to go. And by the 2nd of November, which will be in just over a month's time, we will know who our champion is. So the final 6 rounds, we've got Imola, Singapore, Qatar, Austin, Mexico, and Brazil. It's going to be an epic fight to the finish. Make sure you watch and find out what's going to happen. Finally, we'll thank all our sponsors: Next Level Racing, Pure Sim Gear, Sim Racing Setup, Sim Grid, and Vespertine. Without them, we wouldn't be able to go racing at One Hub Racing. Thank you to all the drivers that have been racing with us tonight. Thank you to all of you who have been watching, and of course, thank you to Mike for commentating with me once again. But the story of tonight, Ben Mills, he didn't really need a break, did he? But he delivered. He won the race, and his championship has gone off back to a great start. I've been Jess Ball. He's been Mike Edwards. We will see you same time next week for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Take care, everybody, and good night.